Good morning. My name is Greg Krasovsky. I'm an attorney, and I wanted to talk to you today about consumer protection services that my law offices offer, both domestically and internationally, in the United States and in other countries, including Russia, Ukraine, and other countries of the former Union, the former Soviet Union. Anyway, consumer protection is an area that all of us as consumers encounter. I wish we hadn't, but we do. And what we're going to talk about are consumer protection services for those of you who feel that your rights as a consumer have been violated, generally for purchases in excess of, let's say, $500. Often we're talking about people who contact my law office and that we've had an opportunity to help, regardless of whether they've purchased something in a traditional store or online, from a local service provider, from an international service provider. Sometimes as a consumer, your rights are violated. Let's look at some definitive examples. We've had people who have purchased items on the internet, either through businesses or stores that allow internet purchases, or from individuals through eBay, or even through Amazon and other internet, sales platforms. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes is you don't receive the product that was advertised to, or you receive the product, but it's not in the condition that was advertised by the seller, or it's not delivered within the agreed upon time frame. So imagine if you've ordered something and the seller tells you that they're going to deliver you a good that you need. It's a time-critical item, time-sensitive item, within 2 weeks. And instead, you get something only in 6 weeks. That's not acceptable, especially if you need this for your work, for your business. Or you've ordered an item that you wanted to give as a birthday present or a holiday present, for instance, for Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, or other holidays. That's not acceptable. People often will try to resolve these disputes on their own without legal representation. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's not successful, especially with, let's call it, fairly selfish sellers. Plus, most consumers are not fully cognizant of the local and international consumer protection laws that they could use to protect their rights. And that puts them at a disadvantage. If you feel that a seller or a provider of services to you has made fundamental misrepresentations about the service or its terms, we're talking about misrepresentations of material facts. And because of this, you've suffered injury, moral, psychological, financial, and you feel you deserve compensation, you may be entitled to it. Talk to my law offices. We'll let you know what your rights are, first of all. And right now, most jurisdictions have fairly robust consumer protection laws. What people lack, and what these jurisdictions lack often, are the relevant enforcement mechanisms. What we do is, once you've contacted us, once we've figured out what went wrong, and if we've determined that your rights as a consumer have been violated, we will try to reach out to the seller to see whether we can reach a mutually acceptable resolution. If the seller is not being cooperative, sometimes they even disappear, then we will try to protect your rights through government agencies. Sometimes we'll contact local law enforcement. Other times we will contact a local consumer protection bureau, either in the jurisdiction of the consumer or in the jurisdiction of the seller, or both. Attorney General's offices, local prosecutors' offices, even if it helps the Better Business Bureau. But as you must understand, the Better Business Bureau is basically a voluntary mechanism. It's a reporting mechanism. It's not going to force a dishonest seller who's acting in bad faith. It's not going to force them to compensate you for your losses. Well, we've also had people contact us when it comes to major purchases of items over $1,000 or services. We often have problems with contractors who are supposed to do construction work, home improvement work, or people end up buying expensive furniture or appliances for their homes or their businesses, including equipment. Service providers who are supposed to do repairs or improvements, or other services that a business needs. For instance, repairing office equipment, providing telecommunication services. Issues do come up, and often we're able to help people. So if you have a consumer protection problem, either local or international, give us a call. International consumer protection problems now arise more than ever. We do a lot of international travel. We also order items from abroad. Now, what are you going to do if you've ordered an item from a seller in Hong Kong, in China, in Taiwan, Malaysia, Indonesia? Lots of items are being manufactured in those places and sold by businesses located in those jurisdictions. And you don't get what you expected. What happens if you end up traveling somewhere, either on business or on vacation, and you have issues with your travel agency or your airline or local hotel or resort where you're staying, or local transportation providers, rental companies? Give us a call. We can try to help you protect your rights in conjunction and in cooperation with lawyers in those jurisdictions where we don't have a presence, or we can try to help you if there's jurisdiction over these individuals in the United States because they have provided services to U.S. citizens or U.S. residents. So there are ways we can help you. For consumer protection work, also don't forget that you can be a consumer of educational services. Imagine if it's not imagine, this happens all the time. Your children are enrolled in private schools or preschool, kindergartens, nurseries, elementary, middle, high schools, or your children are enrolled in a university. And you feel that your rights, either as a parent who's purchasing these services for your children, your minor children or your dependents, or you feel that the rights of the student have been violated by the institution. And sometimes it happens. You can often have false advertising where the parents and the students are promised one set of services that the institution is going to offer them in a certain level of quality. And once the student gets there, they realize that it's not true. So you have deceptive advertising at work. We can try to get you compensation or try to resolve this or make sure that the service provider realizes that it's better for them to provide the service to you that they initially promised than to face the consequences of deceptive advertising and a violation of any relevant or applicable consumer protection law. So that's another area you should look into. With international travel, you get issues all the time. And also with international shipping. People right now are using various carriers. I'm not talking about just Federal Express, UPS, or DHL, but freight forwarders to ship goods that they've purchased, or even ship household items when people move abroad or coming back from abroad. If issues arise, consult a lawyer. Sometimes it makes sense for you to spend a couple of $100s on a legal consult so you know exactly where you stand and make sure you don't have any misconceptions, then try to treat this yourself. And we often get people like this who run into a consumer protection problem and they just start doing internet research. Hey, internet research is a great thing, but it's not a substitute to getting competent and effective legal advice, where you have a lawyer who has the relevant qualifications and experience in consumer protection law, review your situation, review applicable laws and local regulations, and let you know where you stand. You know, what can be done for you, whether you have sufficient evidence to be able to successfully prosecute your consumer protection claim, or to make sure that you gather evidence rights. Make sure that it's not destroyed or lost. There are lots of procedural things that we can do to help you as a consumer protect your rights. But it's very important that before you engage in self-treatment, that you come to us, talk to me, talk to another lawyer I work with, and we'll try to help you. That's about it. So if you're a consumer, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully nothing will go wrong. But like any one of us, sooner or later in your life, you're going to run into a problem with someone who's selling you services, who's providing you services or products. And when that happens, and this is a big item that's worth seeking the services of a lawyer to help you resolve this dispute, don't delay, just do it. At the end of the day, remember, the first consultation is always free. We'll talk to you for 50 minutes, see what happens, see what your situation is, and you may not even need to spend any. But if you do, then it may be worth spending $200. We also provide services on a success fee basis or a contingency fee basis, or on a hybrid basis. So often, if we don't recover for you, you're not obligated to pay us anything. Another set of services that I would say also falls under consumer protection, and these are big ticket items, especially in terms of the impact on our lives, are, you guessed it, medical services. So if you feel that your rights as a patient have been violated, as a consumer of medical services by a medical service provider or a medical product provider, whether these are prescription drugs, medical devices, or other medical products, then contact us. And as you'll notice, my offices have a dangerous drug practice, a medical malpractice unit as well. And we also work with people who've been injured by defective medical devices and products. So lots of stuff we can do for you. And if your health is involved, definitely talk to a lawyer if you feel that someone has injured or damaged your health because of inappropriate or improper or negligent medical treatment or defective medical devices or even dangerous drugs. Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you.